Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Tuesday, March 18th. Feel like I was at crypto.com arena about 30 minutes ago, which I kind of was. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. What is going on, everybody? 8 a.m. on the dot. Let's go. We got a lot to get into today. All right. Let's keep things moving here. Cheers to everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying something this morning. Got my mountain coffee up in Lake Arrowhead. Granted, it's not coffee, it's tea. I'm 2.5 weeks now with no coffee. I'm feeling better. I think I'm good now. I think I'm good. It was very dramatic in the beginning. It was a very dramatic experience for me, but for those who were asking, because I don't think anybody was asking, I'm okay now. I'm able to recover. Thank you very much for tuning in. We got a lot to get into in today's show. I got a good quote that I'm going to share for everybody today. I got a guest coming on as well. Excited to have Khobi Price on. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then for the first time, we're going to kind of merge a couple things today. We'll talk a little bit. Major League Baseball obviously got its opening started at 3 a.m. in the morning. Just a quick heads up here. I definitely was not up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Okay? I definitely was not. Here's a quote that I got for today. I got a couple here. I got to kind of pick and choose here from a few of these that I have. But let's do this one today. It's hard. It's a hard, lonely feeling to be completely yourself in front of strangers. It's a hard, lonely feeling to be completely yourself in front of strangers. I think that's a good one. I kind of like that one. Just kind of being yourself no matter what. If you guys got some quotes that you want to throw my way, feel free to throw them my way. I'm going to kind of keep things moving here because I got a lot to get into before Cope comes on. He comes on at 8:30. Lakers win 2 in a row. We're going to spend a little time talking about just the importance of those 2 games. You know, it was kind of like a non-negotiable is the way I put it. Non-negotiable. Lakers basically could not lose could not lose either one of these games, and they came through in both of those wins. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. Austin Reaves is clearly back. Have you guys seen Austin Reaves' numbers over these last maybe 4 or 5 games? It's pretty damn impressive. Really, really impressive to see what Austin Reaves is doing, which is great news for the Lakers. I think everybody understands, the value of Austin Reaves on this team. There's a podcast. Bill Simmons does his podcast. Phenomenal. The guy, when it comes to NBA, he's really, really good. I was listening to a podcast he had done. I want to say he did it on Sunday. It was him and Ryan Russillo were doing a podcast together. And there's a specific portion just on Austin Reaves that I want to play for everybody. So I'll spend a little bit of time playing that. I did a video yesterday on Jackson Hayes. I want to read some of the comments of people's response to that. Rui Hachimura, he's been out now for 8 games. Could we be getting him back in the next week or so? It's kind of interesting. For Rui, when LeBron was out, Lakers were still balling. So we really didn't, or when LeBron was in, Lakers were still balling. So we really didn't say too much about Rui. It's like, yeah, you're good. Take your time. But now that LeBron's not there, it's like Rui, got to get him back. So spend a little time on Rui. I mentioned Khobi Price. So Khobi Price, for those who don't know, works for the SoCal News Group, OC Register. And he's specifically covering the Lakers. So he's at all the games, at all the pressers, everything else. So Khobi will join the show. We'll talk a little bit, spend a little time chatting with him. Some NBA news I want to get into. We'll take a quick look at what happened yesterday, what's going on in some of the games today. There was something on Anthony Davis that I really, really liked, and I hope AD comes through with it in his kind of attempt to try to come back for the Dallas Mavericks. I think it's a really smart move for him. And then spend a little time talking about the Dodgers over the Cubs, 4-1, Major League Baseball opener. I kind of like this whole, these games in Tokyo or in Asia, and then you got all these unbelievable Asian players that are a part of the mix. Kind of it's a unique thing that Major League Baseball is doing. Even though the official season, technically the season started yesterday, but everybody else won't start for another, I think it's a week and a half, 2 weeks, something along those lines. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments, and then we'll get the show started. See what everybody's got to say here. Don't let shallow water limit your perception. Heed the new horizon. Muster to it fast. Jay, thank you for sharing, brother. It's a great quote. It's a very deep quote, by the way. And not only is it so deep, I think for me, it was a little like I got to read that maybe 3-4 times. Maybe when the show ends, I got to kind of go off on my own here. Morning from Brazil, Slee. Gustavo, thank you for tuning in all the way in Brazil. Let's go Cavs, Mavs, Devs, Lakers in 5. Man, has Shannon Sharp's Lakers in 5 thing gone off or not? Buenos dias, Slee. Happy to see this beautiful dry weather here in Chula Vista. Christian, thank you for being a part of the show, brother. I appreciate you. We got people all the way out in Melbourne, Australia. Thank you for being a part of the show. Phenomenal. I appreciate you all for being a part of the show. Ooh. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A soldier dies but once. Damn. If you're the smartest guy in the room, find a new room. Damn. Look at you guys coming through here. Look at these quotes. That's kind of the goal of this show. Can we just build a nice community? Let people walk away with some good things. Talk a little sports in the process, and then get the hell out of here after that. I appreciate you guys all kind of chiming in on the show. All right, let's start off. Let's start off with the Lake Show here. So got a chance yesterday. Went to the game. So I think I mentioned to everybody that I was going to make it to the Lakers Spurs. I was coming up from San Diego. Had a 2 o'clock train. Had it all perfectly planned. I'm like, perfect. Get there about 5 o'clock. Take an Uber right to the arena. Coach is not going to talk till 5:45, 6 o'clock. Give myself perfect amount of time. I get a text message from Amtrak. 2 p.m. train canceled. I'm like, well, can't just cancel the train. I'm on the 2 o'clock. Next train not till 4. I'm like, guys, you're jacking up my plan here. Got to the arena probably around 7:15, something along those lines. So missed the coach's interview and everything else. But I got to kind of just kick back, watch the game, obviously do the post game from there. Great vibe. You know, to be honest with you, I think everybody kind of understands the situation Lakers are in. It's a completely different team. Once Luka got here, the vibe completely changed. So I hadn't been to a home game. It'd been a couple of weeks since I've been to a home game, but the vibe is phenomenal. And most importantly, Lakers did exactly what they were supposed to do in these last 2 games. I wasn't trying to be overly dramatic. Maybe I was trying to be overly dramatic. I'm very dramatic. You guys know me. I'm all drama. All drama. I thought these 2 games were so critical to the Lakers if they were going to have a shot at moving up in the seeding. These last 2 games were non-negotiable. You couldn't lose to Phoenix, and you couldn't lose to the San Antonio Spurs. And both those teams aren't good. So I'm not trying to tell you that the Lakers accomplished something that was unbelievable. I'm just trying to tell you that those were very, very important games. If you want any shot, if the Lakers want any shot at all of potentially grabbing that number 2 spot or that number 3 seed, something along those lines, I didn't think you could lose these 2 games. Now, you know, it could come down to losing a game against Brooklyn or Utah or Charlotte or one of those games. That can happen, but frankly, that happens to everybody. So it's not like the Lakers are exclusive in that category. I mean, just go look at the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets lost the game at home on Saturday to the Wizards. And then they turned it around yesterday without Nikola Jokic, without Jamal Murray. They won on the road against the hottest team in the NBA and the Golden State Warriors. So you explain the NBA to me because I don't fully understand it. But I thought Lakers did exactly what they were supposed to do. Kind of had a nice, comfortable lead the entire way. Give them credit. I thought the Lakers, you know, are starting to play some better basketball, but it's not like anything changed. They're just getting healthier. That to me is just the biggest thing. So it's been a difficult thing for me to look at the Lakers. Even when they're losing, they're on that 4-game losing streak. I know I was having conversations with you guys. A lot of the conversation I was having is like, guys, they didn't just all of a sudden become a bad team. They don't have their guys. You got to have your players. You know, and you don't have to have them all, But not having LeBron is obviously going to have a huge, huge impact on the Lakers' play. But if you have a lot of other guys, then you can beat teams like the Spurs and the Phoenix Suns. And tomorrow when they take on Denver, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it's an absolute dogfight and the Lakers are in it all game and they get a W against Denver. And I feel like Denver's a little bit more vulnerable than they've been in the past. Or maybe they get handed tomorrow because they don't have LeBron, and it's that simple. But either way, I did think these two games were going to be critical. They were going to be important. We chat real quick about Austin Reaves. Reaves dropped another 30 yesterday. 37-6 for Austin Reaves. 12 of 21 from the field. Took a lot of threes. 5 of 13 from the three-point line. Had a couple of steals. Right now, he's got the green light to kind of do whatever he wants because LeBron's not there. He knows his role. He understands that if LeBron is healthy and Luka Doncic is healthy, all right, he's going to get less shots. He might not get 21 shots, but he's still going to get 15. Not crazy about the 13 three-point shot attempts, but that will probably be around 6 or 7 or maybe 8 on the high end, something along those lines. But something to keep in mind here. I'm going to read a couple things here. First off, let me give you Austin Reaves' last 4 games for the Lakers. When he came back, he was struggling. He was definitely struggling. He was awful against Brooklyn, if you guys remember that Brooklyn game. But just since the Brooklyn game, let me give you some of his stats. And I'm looking more at his efficiency than I am just, well, how many points did he score? Last 4 games, he shot 58% from the field, 50% from the field, 48% from the field, and 57% from the field. Only one game he shot below 50%, and that was, if you round it out, 48% from the field. Okay? What are his point totals? 28, 37, 28, and 30. Those are monster numbers. Those are not, little shy little numbers here that we're sitting there. 28, 37, 28, and 30. Okay. Is he just getting buckets for himself, or is he also distributing to other guys? Here's his assists. He had 3 against Milwaukee. Obviously nothing special there. 13 against Denver. 6 against Phoenix. 6 against the San Antonio Spurs. I want him right in that 6 range. 6 to 7 range. That's a good night for Austin Reaves. If he's dishing out 6 to 7 assists on top of him, again, I know when LeBron comes back, he's not going to be dropping 28 and 37 and 28 and 30. But he's still going to get you, he's averaging 20 a game here, so it's not like that's out of the ordinary. He'll probably be in that 20 to 25 range, maybe 18 to 23 range, something along those lines. Rebounding, 8 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 4 rebounds, and 7 rebounds. So Austin Reaves, he's back. However you want to look at it, Austin Reaves is back. Even the game against Brooklyn where he shot poorly, he still had 10 assists. He still had 8 rebounds. He's finding ways to contribute for the Lakers. Whatever everybody was talking about when it came to his rust, well, don't worry about the rust. After the game, here's what Luka said about Austin Reaves. I mean, this guy just scored 30 in his 4th game in 5 days. That explains everything. He's an amazing player. For him to go undrafted is unbelievable. It's not easy to go undrafted and then play at this level. It's amazing just to be by his side. So Luka giving some love, Luka giving some credit, as he should be, because of how good, obviously, Austin Reaves has become for the Lakers. I mean, that just kind of simply put, this isn't something that started yesterday. He's been good for a while, and he's certainly making it happen. I'm going to play you guys a clip here real quick because I want you guys to take a quick listen here, and it's kind of funny. Sometimes we may perceive certain players a certain way, but if it's the team you're rooting for, you kind of ask yourself, okay, is it, am I looking at it through a lens that's not fair? Am I being objective, or am I just looking at it because that's my team, that's my squad? So I mentioned I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast. Ryan Russillo was on with him, and I want you guys to take, by the way, this is not, this is on Sunday, I think is when they record this. And most of the episode was just demolishing the Phoenix Suns. But there was a point in there where they're talking about Austin Reaves and they're talking about the Lakers. So take a quick listen here. Listen to what they're saying about Austin Reaves. By the way this came up is Bill Simmons is first talking about how how upset he was at the two Texas teams. And he's talking about San Antonio not making a qualifying offer to Austin Reaves. We'll go back to that here in a quick second. And the Lakers basically getting so much value in this contract with Austin Reaves. It's nothing. It's 13 to 15 million a year in today's NBA. Go look at these other NBA contracts. For the production he gives you, that contract does not match. There's a lot of other players out there where the amount of money they're making is high. The value that they actually bring to the table is low. So there's a big difference there. But what they were talking about was how the hell can these two Texas teams, the Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks, basically just revitalize the Los Angeles Lakers? The Spurs don't offer a qualifying offer, or they don't make an offer to make the Lakers match and spend a lot more money on Austin Reaves. I mean, he's easily worth $25 million a year. I mean, that's just the numbers that he's putting out there. And then, of course, Luka getting traded to the Lakers by the Dallas Mavericks. Take a listen.
Reaves is legitimately good. Like, could Reaves make the All-Star team? I think he could. Not this year, but like in the next 3 years, could he be an All-Star? Yeah, I think he could. Is he as good as like Jeff Hornacek was? I think he is. Like, Reaves is, I want to do a third banana list with you and see where he ranks in the third bananas. I just can't believe we were talking that whole season
too bad
about
Grant Williams is hurt. Shit.
Well, we were talking, remember, we're like, would they offer him could somebody offer him 4 for 98? That's the max you could go. We're like, that's a lot. It's like, well, that's 20 plus million a year. Anyway, they got him for what, 12, 13?
Clearly,
it
the
allows
Spurs
them all this other stuff.
The Spurs could not have thought he was going to be this good.
How? That's where, and the Spurs have done good stuff over the years. And like they nailed the Castle pick last year. No, I mean, in recent times, they nailed the Castle pick.
Right. I'm just saying the Spurs track record's been pretty good.
Spurs track record's good. I'm talking recently, maybe not as good. But
yeah, if you want to tell me there's some misses in there, okay, you got me.
I think Reaves is a miss.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. This is why I like this. I like this because this ain't a Laker fan. This is not somebody that is obviously rooting for the Lakers. This is somebody that's trying to clearly a fan of basketball. Bill Simmons, if you guys don't know his background, he's a big Celtics fan. And every time, this is why I kind of pay a little bit more attention. I like when there are people out there, they got no affiliation with the Lakers at all. They don't care. They actually probably want to see the demise of the Lakers. They want to see them lose, but they still give credit where credit's due. With that in mind, I kind of sit here for a quick second, and when I hear them basically saying, how the hell did the San Antonio Spurs not offer more money or to just really make any contract offer, at least to just drive the price up for Austin Reaves? But not only is this man, it's obviously great news that he looks like he's getting back into a rhythm, getting back to being the Austin Reaves that we're all accustomed to. But on top of all that, there's a perception about Austin Reaves around the NBA. Take the Laker mix out of it. Take Laker fans out of it. People that are in this chat right now. Okay, let's remove all ourselves. What do other people think about Austin Reaves? A lot of value there. A lot of value there. They're even talking about he could legitimately be an all-star. That's what the Lakers got in Austin Reaves. It's just great to see his game kind of coming back to another level. Will that change? Again, I don't expect that to stay the same once LeBron comes back, but that's where they are right now. And that's where Austin Reaves has been over these last 4 games. Those are monster numbers, guys. Those are monster numbers. I mean, Luka was not good yesterday. Luka, 5 of 20 from the field, something along those lines. He was struggling. And here's Austin Reaves doing what he's doing. So really, really impressive from him. I wanted to point that out real quick. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments here and go from there. Respectfully, Reaves, Luka, and D4 are amazing. But Jaylen Brown and Jamal Murray types will cook us if we don't play D first lineups in the clutch. Northborough AS, thank you for the super brother. I appreciate it. Well, I think this part is clear with the Lakers, and this part really should. This is what I think should be encouraging for Laker fans out there. JJ Redick's philosophy is not to try to outscore teams. So I think if there's one thing that we clearly know with a JJ Redick-led team, they're not trying to just outscore teams. They're not trying to ignore defense. they're not trying to say, you know what, let's not play Vando and Dorian Finney-Smith and some of these other guys that might be a little bit more defensive-minded because we're trying to outscore another team. So Jaylen Brown, don't worry about him. You don't have to worry about him because you wouldn't face him until you get to the NBA Finals. Jamal Murray, definitely worry about because Jamal Murray has been a Laker killer for the last couple of years, and I know what you're referring to. But so far, the way they've kind of mixed and matched things together, I mean, don't forget, when they went on that 20-4 run until LeBron got hurt and they lost 4 games in a row, they had one of the best defenses in the NBA. They're not the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I know there's been a lot of different lineups over that time. That's kind of not fair for me to use that lineup and say, hey, look, they were 20-4. Okay, well, part of those games, I think AD was still on the Lakers, as was Max Christie. So I'm not telling you it's apples to apples, but what I'm telling you is philosophically, the Lakers are not a team that's going to try to just outscore squads. They're going to try to play legitimate defense and, put themselves in a position where it's they're going to try to put themselves in a position where it's more about playing the right way, effort, defense, and the offense will come. And if it's not working, I think we all understand JJ Redick, I don't think is just going to sit back and say, well, I'm going to do it anyways. I don't think that's going to happen. But it's a fair point. I remember, when we first made the trade, I was talking about how I thought Austin Reaves would be better coming off the bench so he can kind of do his own thing. But the Lakers have done a good job kind of staggering here. Okay, let me play. Let's let Luka and Reaves play a little bit together. Let's let LeBron play with Reaves. They've done a good job of kind of mixing and matching. All right, let's see what else we got here. Even Stephen A was giving love this morning. If you're not giving, look, this is when you could find out a lot. If somebody's not giving love today, then it's like, all right, well, there's certain people in the media that I think in the past, it's like it didn't matter what that person would do. No matter what they did, they still wouldn't give them credit. It's like, all right, well, then I can't really trust your opinion on things. Let's see what else we got here. Peter, do we flip AR for a big? They're good right now, guys. They're good right now. We don't got to worry about that. I will say this. In the summer, I don't know what the Lakers will do. I have no idea, but I know they're going to try to put together a championship roster, period. They will. And we're going to find out, what exactly they do here between now and the playoffs to kind of figure out how good they are and how many changes they need to make. The Spurs actually have a pretty damn good starting lineup when everyone is healthy. Not much of a bench, though. There are going to be 2 squads that you got to look out for in the Western Conference for the next minimum 5 years. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's the San Antonio Spurs. Both of those teams already have star players. They just traded for De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, they got Victor Wembanyama. Hopefully, he's good as far as health goes. And then both of those squads have a tremendous amount of draft picks as well. So he better give us that homegrown discount, Williams says. He already did. Yeah, he 100% already did, and he should not do it in his next contract. Go get paid. He deserves it. Slee, Bill Simmons is a Laker hater. That's okay. Is he saying what is – as long as he's saying – and by the way, that's part of the reason why I liked his opinion is because I know he's not going to kiss the ass of the Lakers. He's going to be more critical about the Lakers. As long as he's being objective, I'm okay with it. All right, let's take a look at a few more of these here, and then we'll keep things moving. I got one quick thing on Rui and LeBron here, and we'll keep things rolling. They will trade Austin next year to get what Luka needs. I don't know about that. I can tell you right now that front office loves Austin Reaves. What's going to be interesting about Austin Reaves, and I know he's going to have a player option coming. I don't think it's next year. I think it's the following year. That's the piece that's going to be interesting with Austin Reaves. Yeah, he gets $13 million, $14 million next year, and then he's got a player option for about just under $15 million the following year. I mean, Austin Reaves can very, very easily say, yeah, no problem. I'm going to play out this year, and then I'm going to go ahead and decline my player option and get paid in the 2026-2027 season. But Reaves also seems like a guy that doesn't want to go anywhere. I'm not telling you he's going to take a massive discount because I don't think he should. I think Austin Reaves should go get paid because he's earned that contract. I mean, there's no better way to put it. Reaves will be Luka's duo for the next 6+ years. Well, they got to get more talent if it's just those two guys. I think we all know that. Okay, real quick here. A couple things I want to throw out here. I read this yesterday, or I read this morning. LeBron James and Rui Hachimura unlikely to have full practice before returning. All right, the good and the bad news. The good news is I think we're going to probably get these guys back here pretty soon. It sounds like, and I played a clip yesterday from Shams, that probably within the next week, you're going to get back Rui Hachimura. The Rui piece is interesting. When Rui went out, Lakers were still winning. So there really wasn't that much like, oh, my God, we need Rui. But the moment LeBron went out, it was, yeah, they need Rui Hachimura. And they got to get him back soon. They got to get him back as soon as possible. With all that being said, there was a quote before the game yesterday coming from JJ Redick, basically saying, he said, very unlikely that there's stay-ready games for Rui and LeBron. I'd have to look at the next 3 weeks, but very unlikely they practice. I think there's a practice in April. That's just the reality of playing every other day. Even if we do something on the court, there's not going to be any live contact in between games. Basically what he's saying is when these guys do come back, I know Rui's doing some 3-on-3 work right now, but whenever these players actually do come back, I think part of the conversation there is, okay, yeah, they're going to come back. And once they do come back, they're going to have to work them into the rotation. This is not going to be something that is just going to happen. They have the luxury of, we'll have 3 or 4 practices. And then, by the time they get to game shape, they'll be good to go. No, they're going to probably have to learn and get back to game shape while the games are going on. I don't really care. I just want to see these two guys back, and that's all that matters to me. Okay, got to give a shout out here. Our main partner here on the channel. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I'm there tomorrow in his office, in his studios in Encino. I'm looking forward to it. About 5 years I've known Brad Wallace. He's been running his firm for about 8 years now. Him and I used to work together when I was at 710 ESPN. His business wanted to be on 710 ESPN. He's a big sports fan, big Laker fan, obviously. And he's like, I want that guy doing my reads for me. So him and I started a relationship about 5 years ago. Once I left 710 ESPN, we got a cool story of us really doing a lot, interacting a lot before I started all my, YouTube stuff, making this a Monday through Friday show, and he wanted to be a part of it. So I'm a big fan of his, just his support of the channel, I think, more than anything else. Now, I hope you never need him, but let me tell you a little bit about what he does business-wise. If you or someone you know is in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace. Let him walk you and or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process, but you got to let an expert in the field help you, and he can help anybody in the state of California. We did create a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. So if you've been seriously injured or someone in the family is dealing with a loss of a loved one, whether this is yourself or a family member, you can go to that website. You can get a free consultation, or like I've told everybody before, I'm happy to make a personal introduction to Brad Wallace, and hopefully, obviously he can help from there. Again, he can help anybody in the state of California. I appreciate very much his support of the channel, and I appreciate you guys also understanding how important it is to have partners a part of the channel as I continue to grow this thing. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. We'll be doing my show from there tomorrow. Okay, let's keep things moving here. Let's keep things moving here. Get a couple more of these comments here before we get Khobi on. All right, let's see what else we got here. And then we got people that are supporting. Look at this. You got people giving the shout outs here to Brad Wallace. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Rui been out for a good minute. He needs to hurry back. Yeah, here's the good news, guys. I kind of said this. I think I was talking a little bit about this yesterday, but I'll emphasize it again. With all this that's happened, with the Lakers over this last, let's call it 2 weeks, really the entire season, all the injuries that they had, or guys in and out of the lineup, or the trade that went down. D'Lo's on the team. He's out. Dorian Finney-Smith is in. AD and Max Christie get traded. Luka's in. Luka was out to start off. It kind of took him time. LeBron's obviously now sitting out some games because of his groin injury. With all that said, here we're sitting here on Tuesday, March 18th. If I'd have told Laker fans out there that they're 17 games over 500, that they're within 1 game of the second spot of the Western Conference, that they have the same total loss amount in the loss column as the Rockets, the Nuggets, and then here are the Lakers, everybody with 25 losses, there wouldn't be a Laker fan out there that wouldn't want the situation and the position that they're in. So I think it's actually pretty damn impressive where they're sitting today. And, do they still got a ways to go? Sure, they definitely got a ways to go. Do we know 100% what this team is going to look like in the next month or so? I think we have a good idea. I think they would be a remarkable headache in the playoffs, but they got to be healthy. So, the comment of, hey, Rui's been out for a while. Well, got to wait till he comes back. Way to not drink coffee for 2 weeks. Limiting coffee will lower irritability. Okay. Am I more zen by just doing tea? I got a green tea going right now. Green tea going right now. All right, let's let's keep things moving. And then we'll get Khobi on here to join us here shortly. Okay, so I'm gonna flip the script here a little bit. I'm gonna talk about something that I saw yesterday, and I want to just kind of hit on this real quick as we wait for Khobi to come on. Did you guys see the story about Anthony Davis? I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a time that I said that I'd really like to see. We know what the Dallas Mavericks are in complete shambles, so nobody's going to kind of really question that. Let me wait on this. I'll wait on the Anthony Davis conversation. I'll do it with Khobi here in a few, but I got Khobi ready to go. So let me get Khobi on, and then we'll come back to that Anthony Davis story. All right, there he is, Khobi.
What's up?
What's going on, brother?
Good morning. Just enjoying it's been like 4 games in 5 days.
Yeah, what time? Okay, wait, let me get this. So a game like last night, a 7:30 tip.
Yeah.
What time do you get home?
Last night I actually got home reasonably early for 7:30 tip. I think maybe around like 11:45.
Okay.
Before midnight, which is actually because I guess the nature of the game, it was able to work like that. I was able to get most of my writing done. Like the game, honestly, felt like it flew by, especially the second half. So I was able to get done what I needed to get done pretty quickly. But yeah, it's 4 games in 5 days, with the middle day being a travel day, and then we're about to go into another back-to-back. Like my brain was
fried.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for you too, and a lot of the the people that are traveling and going to all the road games, it's the travel, I'm assuming, right? The travel part is the part that you're probably all over the place on. Yeah,
it's a blessing. It's also one of those that can really get your brain in a blender quite quickly. I forget how I was selling one day, but I remember there have been times where the only reason I know where I'm going is because of my boarding pass. Like I've had days where I've been at the airport and I've been like, wait, where am I going again? Or where am I coming from? Like when I land, it's like, where was I just at? It's one of those situations where I'm in your brain.
The good thing is, and I know that you've told me this before, that because you only fly private and you only stay at 5-star hotels, that's it. And
yeah, that's all.
I've actually seen you walk into the post-game interviewing people. You were in a robe. I've seen you in a robe and just saying, guys, not today. I'm going to leave my mic here. Go ahead and talk into the mic, and then I'll transcribe it a little bit later. So at least you get that, Khobi. At least you get that portion.
That's the only way to do it. If you're not doing it like that, you're not doing it right. My vets taught me well.
There you go. You guys have obviously know Khobi by now. He's been on the pod a number of different times, but you also hear him before every game, after every game. Covers the Lakers for the SoCal News Group, so does a phenomenal job. So, Khobi, I appreciate your time, brother, this morning. Let me start off with this. I was just kind of talking about the standings, and if I'd have told you before the season started, and I know this has been a wild season for many reasons, but let's just take all the personnel out of the way and everything else. If I'd have told you Lakers are competing for the number 2 spot in the Western Conference, they're 17 games over 500. They're actually tied with 25 losses with whoever's in number 2, who's in number 3, and then they're sitting at number 4. And here we are on March 18th with less than a month to go in the season. I would imagine that you said the Lakers are sitting pretty damn pretty. Now, I'm not telling you they're a perfect team. I'm not telling you that, things can't change over the next couple of weeks. They can go on another 3-game losing streak and be probably in the number 6 spot or something along those lines. But as we sit here today, what do you make of their position?
I mean, it's pretty darn good position to be in, if you ask me, considering at least my own personal preseason expectations, considering the ebbs and flows of the season, considering that LeBron's been out for the past 4 games or 5 games because he missed the last 3 of the road, these last 2 at home. Considering the entire context of the season, the fact that they're still competing for number 2, like they're right there. What is it? They're, like you said, Houston, Denver, the Lakers, they all have
25
losses, and they're just a game behind. They have 2 fewer wins than Houston, so they're a game behind. Just a game behind for number 2 with, I think, 15 games left, 16 games left? Like, that's...
I think 15.
15, yeah, 15. That's a really good position to be in. That's a really good position to be in. Obviously, the schedule's the schedule, and I think I even wrote this in my story last night. Like, one bad injury-ridden week, and can be the difference between being number 2 versus being number 5, which is literally what just happened to them this past week. They went into that road trip number 2. They lost 4 in a row, and they dropped down to number 5. But considering everything, like, this is a good spot to be in. It's better. It's honestly better than what I would have expected of them coming into the season. When you put everything, obviously, when you preseason, I didn't expect for them to trade for Luka Doncic, but again, ebbs and flows of the season. That's a huge ebb and flow, but an ebb and flow nonetheless. So for me, I think they're in a good position. I mean, obviously you want to finish higher than lower, get that home court advantage in the first round. You set yourself up, if you can get to 2, you can set yourself up to not have to see OKC until the conference finals if you make it that far, as opposed to the second round. So, I mean, you asked me, I think they're in a good position. Obviously, they want to finish in the best position, but a better spot than I would have anticipated if you talked to me in early October, even November, even honestly, like even December.
Yeah, by the way, and the reason why I set it up that way is, nobody's saying it's a perfect season. I think some people were frustrated about the 4-game losing streak, but there was a reason for it. I mean, it's not like they just all of a sudden became a different team. But as we sit here today, it's going to be a fun, this is an exciting final 3.5 weeks of the season because there's so much still at stake, and you have no idea who they're going to play. And, they could literally, there's probably still 5 or 6 teams they can play in that first round of the playoffs. It could be home. It could be on the road. It could be, the positioning and everything else that they're in right now. Does it sound like the vibe is pretty optimistic about LeBron, about Rui, just kind of getting healthy and getting in there and about, within the next week or two? Does it, because that's from everything I've been reading, a couple things, grabbing some of the quotes from JJ Redick, it feels like they could very easily be healthy by the time April 1st comes around in the next 10 days or so and have everybody back.
Yeah, I would expect for – I'm not expecting for – at least on the LeBron front, I'm not expecting for LeBron to return during this homestand. That ends, I think, on Saturday against the Bulls because they have tomorrow Denver, Milwaukee Thursday, then the Bulls on Saturday. So I'm not expecting for LeBron to be in any of those games. But, I mean, after that, I think it's the possibilities of his return open up. And it seems like, I mean, I asked JJ about this yesterday. Rui's doing 3-on-3. That seems like a great sign for his return to play process after missing the past couple of weeks of games. So, I mean, by April 1st, what's it? March 18th. Wow. By April 1st, I would almost expect for them to both be back on the floor and I guess regaining that comfort, regaining that chemistry with the group. With I think after April 1st, they have maybe 5 to 7 games left in the season. I know they have Portland on the road. They have that 2 in OKC and that 1 in Dallas. And I think they have a home game in between then. So maybe that's 5 right there. So maybe more like 7.
7.
Yep,
7 and that home game in between is Houston.
Okay. Yep.
Actually, still 2 left against Houston.
Yeah, so, I was going to say.
Yeah.
When you said that, I was thinking to myself, I could have sworn they played another game against Houston at the end of March. Because just as an aside, they have a lot of big games coming up against the playoff caliber. Because I know they play Golden State again. I know they play Houston twice. They play OKC. Denver tomorrow. I know Dallas is I guess they're still considered a play-in team, obviously, even though their season's taken a tailspin. But a lot of important games just from a playoff positioning standpoint against teams right either above them or below them in the standings. But going back to your question, I would, it seems like LeBron and Rui are both trending in the right direction. They should be around for the last stretch of the season just to, I guess, get that physical comfort back, get that chemistry going, and see what this team can be like when it's whole.
Do you think anything changes when everybody does come back? Does everybody just kind of slot back into where they were? Rui goes back to the starting lineup. Obviously, we know where LeBron's going to be. Do they change anything? I know I've heard this before. You can't lose your starting spot due to injury. So is it just – but I'm not even referring to it from there. I'm talking more about is that the smart thing for the Lakers to do is say, hey, let's just go back to the Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, LeBron, Austin Reaves, and Luka. And then now all of a sudden it feels like, too, that you got players that are all kind of back into a little bit of a group. Gabe Vincent looks a lot better than he's had earlier in the season or really any of his time with the Lakers. Dorian Finney-Smith, I know not as great from the outside as most people want to see, but you see his value. He hit 4 threes yesterday as well. You got Vando. You got all these other guys that are even Jordan Goodwin's tremendous impact for the Lakers. So with all that in mind, they get healthy. Does it just kind of go back to you think goes back to that same starting 5 that it was?
That would be my expectation right now. I mean, through all the changes and through all of the again ebbs and flows of the season, like JJ has been adamant that Rui is a starter for this team. There have been various points where that could have changed, where Rui's own performance has dipped, where they could have just tried to give a different look. They've stuck with him. JJ stuck with him. I wouldn't expect that to change when he comes back from injury. Maybe he plays fewer. I mean, I would imagine he's going to play fewer minutes, be on a minutes restriction once he does return.
Sure.
But I would expect for him to slot back into that starting lineup, if not immediately, pretty soon after returning.
Reaves all of a sudden is looking like, by the way, not even just, I mean, even for Austin Reaves, it's been really nice to see these last 4 games or so where he just looks comfortable again. Whatever rust that he had, that's clearly gone. How important does Reaves become to this team? The further they go, the closer they get to the postseason. I think so much attention goes to Luka and LeBron. Reaves has got the ability, and I'm not telling you that he's going to continue to drop 30 when LeBron's there with Luka. It's going to change. He's not going to get 20-plus shot attempts or 13 threes. I know that there's a reason why he's taking as many shots as he is, but can you talk about just kind of Austin Reaves' role, how critical it is for this Lakers team, how big he has to be in order for the Lakers to try to accomplish what they're hoping to accomplish?
Very critical. I mean, he's a guy, regardless of who's in the lineup, whether it's just him playing alongside LeBron, alongside Luka and LeBron, he's a guy that you get glimpses of it, or you see it last night. You put 2 on the ball against Luka, and Austin keeps the chain moving. He can create that further advantage by being able to get to the rim, put the defense in a blender. Like, that's something that, and then make plays out of that. I think that's one of the biggest areas of growth he's had over not just this season, but really this last season and a half as a playmaker, as a decision maker with the ball. That's been, and people think that, oh, you have Luka and LeBron, that's enough. Well, no, because teams are going to send help, especially on Luka. They're going to send double teams, help, whatever it may be. And you need to be able to maintain advantages, create advantages. And that's something that Austin has thrived with over the past month and a half, honestly, longer than that. And then even on his own, he can create his own advantages, coming out pick and rolls, coming off of pin downs. Like, this is a player that creates rim pressure, creates advantages. And in the playoffs, those are the things that you need. Like, this is like the more players you can have who can create advantageous situations, the better off your team is. And also as a player who just creates better situations for himself and then also his teammates. So it may not be, I think he's dropped at least 28 4 consecutive games. It may not be that night in and night out when you have Luka and LeBron and Austin on the floor are all available. But what it can be is he's a player who can keep the chain moving, keep the advantages in the Lakers' favor. And that's something that once you get to the playoffs, like, it's about advantages, creating situations or creating advantages that you want.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and we're talking about a little bit earlier. What happens to him? Because he's got next year, he's under contract for about another $14 million.
Yeah.
The following year, he's got a player option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not going to be making $14-15 million a year at what he's been able to do. Obviously, he's been of tremendous value to the Lakers, but he's such a good player, just a solid basketball player, low maintenance, makes it happen. And I'm not telling you that he can go be the best player on a championship team or the second best player on a championship team, but he clearly has value. And I know the Lakers absolutely love him. I know the front office loves him. Everybody does. But the man's going to eventually get paid. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I was shocked when he signed the contract that he did, when everybody did. I think it was Rui, D'Angelo Russell, and Austin Reaves were all due money at the same time. And Austin Reaves got the least amount of money of those three, which, was a big surprise to me. I'm just kind of – I'm imagining there's going to be at least 5-6 teams that are saying we're throwing money at Austin Reaves.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember, if I remember correct, because this is actually, I think, my first month on the beat when Austin got that contract. So if I'm remembering correctly, I think some of it was that was the most the Lakers could offer him, just based off the CBA and how much you can offer a player. And the other thing, like, nobody,
unless a team offered. So I think the most a team could offer, and then it's funny. So a little bit earlier, I was playing something from the Bill Simmons podcast, and they were talking about how did San Antonio, Lakers played the Spurs yesterday. How did San Antonio not offer this man? I think that the most they could have gone is 4 for $98. But even if they offered 4 for $80 just to drive the price up, but yeah, you're right. There was this. It was a little funky, and the Lakers could match, but they never had to because nobody else jumped in.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those they would have been happy to match, but they're happy to,
of course,
and this it's worked in their favor. I mean, Austin. I mean, there's an argument that Austin is one of the better, I guess, bargains in the league in terms of the production and value on the court versus how much money he's making. I mean, I just looked at it since he had that 5-game absence in early December. think because of like a pelvis injury, and he's played 41 games since then. And remember, like these 41 games are in so many different contexts with AD and LeBron, with LeBron and Luka, with Luka by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the guy who's averaging over basically half a season, 21, 5, 6.5, 5 rebounds, 45, 37, 90 splits. I mean, that's all-star production. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about basically a guy who can provide you all-star production as your third option. And that's not even saying like it's been even better over the past month and a half. Like it's as the season's gone on, he's continued to raise his level holistically. So when I think about what he would command as a UFA, an unrestricted free agent, and basically we're talking more than likely not this upcoming off season, but the following off season. I mean, That's a guy that, I mean, again, I said he's providing an all-star level of production. Teams are going to be willing to pay him all-star guard level money. Like that's just how I see it.
All right, I'm going to jump around here real quick in the Western Conference. So Lakers got Denver coming up tomorrow. What do you make of Denver? I don't, I can't really figure them out. And I know the Lakers, and I'm not trying to put too much stock in the game on Friday night where the Lakers played nobody. I mean, you and I could have got 12 minutes each in that game. And there were the Lakers toe-to-toe. Actually, I thought kind of threw the game away in the final minute. It's kind of funny. It's like you went from, well, of course, they're going to get blown out in this game to being disappointed that they lost at Denver, missing all these players that they had. And then Denver loses a game at home to the Wizards. And then they come back yesterday without Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. They beat one of the hottest teams in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors, on the road. What do you make of the Denver Nuggets? I mean, let me play a hypothetical. If the Lakers and the Nuggets, both teams are healthy, suit up for a 7-game set in the playoffs, who do you like between those two teams? It's a tough one. I kind of find myself, it's kind of Khobi. I'm going to sound like a typical, with a Laker lens on. I think I lean towards the Lakers.
I don't blame you.
Something's missing there.
My initial response would have been Denver, like in a very close series, tight series. I mean, I'm talking minimum 6 games, probably 7. I get why you say the Lakers, because if I'm saying it's a 6 or 7 game series, and that can work, that's the type of series that can go in either team's favor. I'm having a hard. I'm honestly having a hard time making out what Denver is this season. I think they're a good team, a really good team. I don't think they're a great team, and I think that's the difference between what we saw from them 2 years ago, or even what they were up and down with last year versus this year. Defensively, they've just been way too inconsistent, just way below the level that you need to be a championship team. And I understand that. Sometimes when you win the championship, you feel like you can turn it off, on and off. I just think that their personnel is not as good either. Like I think, and this was what happens often with championship teams. After you win a championship, it's harder to keep that core, harder to keep that, keep it all together. So the further you get away from that team that won the title, guys age, maybe they find different situations. I know Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's not having the greatest season in Orlando. But for what he was for Denver, he was still valuable, especially in the regular season. So I'm still inclined to think it would be Denver. I think the Lakers is also a better matchup against Denver now than they were compared to last year's playoff series, and especially the playoff series the year before. Like I do believe that there are certain advantages that the Lakers can tap into in a playoff series against Denver that they weren't able to in previous years. But it's like a movie I've seen multiple times. I feel like I know what's going to happen, but the characters in this movie have changed. I mean, if you look at this roster compared to the roster that the Lakers had in last
couple of years,
yeah, I mean, even not even last couple of years, just literally last year's playoffs, radically different in terms of. I mean, obviously there's the Luka factor, but also there's also the Dorian part. Vando's available and playing. Gabe was available for those playoff games, but he's a different player now than he was last April.
Coaches are different.
Coaches are different. I mean, coaches are different. No Jackson Hayes. I mean, no Anthony Davis. Jackson Hayes is now your starting center. The care, like I said, it feels like I've seen the same movie over and over again, but the literal characters of the movie have changed, and that can create different scenarios. The way that the Lakers beat Denver in Denver, whatever that was, a month ago, was one of their more impressive wins since I've been on the beat. And even the way that they played them in the loss that they had last week, like I was still impressed by the way that they played. I don't know if they would have had that type of performance last year.
Sure.
So that's why I'm like, their characters and the character of the team has changed to me as well. Like the actual, it's so cliche to say, but like the stuff this team is made of feels like it's changed. So I'm still inclined to say Denver, but the Lakers have a much better shot than if you would have asked me this question going to last year's playoff series or even a few months ago.
Khobi, final one. I appreciate your time as always. I feel like every time I ask about this specific team, I get kind of one or the other. I either get, guys, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're the best team in the Western Conference, and they're going to be in the NBA Finals, and then we'll see what happens from there. Or I get, nope, still not sold on them because youth, experience, lack of experience. Where do you sit on the Oklahoma City Thunder? I think for me, that script is starting to change. Every time I watch them, it's like, no, I could see them getting beat, and then I'm looking a little bit closer, and I'm like, this is also the best defensive team in the NBA. They got the MVP. There's a lot of cases to be made for them. They're complete. They got a lot of role players, star players, everything else. What's your take on OKC?
I think they're a great team. I mean, I know I said that I think Denver's a really good to really good team, but not a great team. I think OKC is a legitimate great team. I buy them as as not just playoff contenders, but as championship contenders. They're a team that I think the West runs through them right now. And I know that Dallas went to the finals last year, and obviously they're different. I know Minnesota made it to the conference finals last year, and they would have something to say. All the other teams in the West, Houston, Memphis, Lakers, like Denver is the last Western Conference team to win a championship. Like all these other teams are gonna have something to say. Everything runs through OKC right now, and not just because of the number one seed. They're just been, to me, the best team in the conference, just by far. It's reflected in the record. It's reflected in all the numbers. It's just reflected in their style of play. It's reflected in even when they're down guys, they still find ways to just win. On Sunday they didn't have Dort or Jalen Williams. They're up by 25 on the road against Milwaukee. The win they had against the Boston Celtics, that was without Jalen Williams. So yeah, they're like a machine with one of the best players in the league, a top 3, top 4 player in the league. That's what Shea. I mean, that's also what Shea is to me right now. I feel like there's a lot of like annoying conversation about grifter, foul, merchant, whatever, free throw merchant, whatever. He's a phenomenal player. He just straight up, again, top 3, top 4 player in the league. This is a guy that has evolved his game. I mean, think about where he was in his rookie season with the Clippers to where he's been at the past 2-3 seasons.
Sure.
He's the kind of player, like you say, I can build a championship level team around him, and they have. So I understand the concerns about their youth, and you got to prove it in the playoffs to garner that respect. But they had a tough series with Dallas last year. The team that eventually made it to the finals obviously lost. And then the year before, they went to – I'm struggling to think what happened the year before. But I think they were first round out the year before. So they've gotten a couple of
bumps and bruises along the way, which you have to have.
Maybe they were they got knocked out in the play-in. They got knocked out in the play-in the year before. So it's not like this is our first introduction to them as a playoff or postseason level team. Like this is really year 2 to 3 of them in that process. And sometimes, especially in this modern NBA, sometimes that's all you need. You don't need 4 or 5 years of battered and bruised, especially with the turnover in this league and how teams can just rise and fall. I mean, look at Houston. Houston was 2 years ago not even a thought in the playoff scene. Now they're going to look like they're going to finish as a top 5 seed. Obviously, a lot of changes happened, but that OKC, they went from where they were at to now they were the number 1 seed last year. We shouldn't be acting like this is a revelation, like they're a new thing. Like they were the number 1 seed last year. They lost in the second round, and then they got better. They internally developed, and then they added a Caruso and Hartenstein. Like that's what championship level teams to do.
It's kind of funny. I think you can look at it both ways. If they make it to the NBA Finals, we're going to say, well, of course they were supposed to make it to the NBA Finals. And if they got eliminated in the Western Conference Finals, we'd say, yeah, they're just, it's part of the process. Like I feel like you can sell yourself both ways on this, but we all want to see it before we want to see a team do it and get there before we're saying, yeah, everything runs through them. And I think that's the hesitation that you have there. Khobi, I appreciate it, buddy. Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm not even saying that I'm not even like, if you ask me right now, I would say the OKC's representing the West in the finals. I'm not saying it like this is the 2018, 19, 17 Warriors in terms of that level of confidence. But they, through what they've done over the last 2 seasons, like they've garnered, at least for me, enough respect where I say that's the team that has to be reckoned with. Like I think the Lakers could beat them in the series. Yes. Denver would have something to say. It wouldn't. Minnesota would definitely have something to say. Like these are teams that the Warriors, they can compete with them, but to me, the Thunder start off with the advantage. So that's where I sit with the Thunder. I think that they need to be taken a lot more seriously in terms of, like, I would be surprised if, to me, the Western Conference Finals is the minimum that they need to reach. And honestly, a team with that profile in terms of the wins, statistical record, all of it, that's a finals team. But at least the Western Conference Finals at minimum.
All right, we got, believe it or not, even with everything that's kind of gone on, there's still so much left to be accomplished over the next month before we even get to the playoffs. Khobi, I appreciate your time, brother. Most likely see you tomorrow, Lakers and Nuggets. So thank you for your time, bud.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. That is Khobi Price right there. Good stuff from Khobi. Nice enough for him to take the time and join the show and to hang out. Good man right there. It's a good man right there. Yeah, the Thunder are one of the more polarizing conversations. They are. They are one of the more polarizing conversations. Good squad, good team. Let's see what we got here. Denver is a first-round exit. OKC is the favorite, and rightfully so. OKC is built for the regular season. They'll get exposed in a 7-game series once teams can dedicate time towards game planning against them. Look, that's kind of what I mean by the Thunder. Guys, do you know that they have half the amount of losses as the second best team in the Western Conference, and there's still a lot of people that are not really all that sold on them? That's kind of the crazy part about it. OKC should win the West. That's the honest truth. They remind me of Boston. It's their time, and they will prove they're ready by defeating Denver, Lakers, and Warriors. By the way, that'd be quite the road for them to take. We'll see. I'm going to also I'm going to always have a little bit of a hesitancy because they haven't got there before. That's why there's always a little bit of hesitancy on Cleveland. Let's just put it this way. If they lost in the Western Conference Finals, I wouldn't be shocked. Now, if they make it to the NBA Finals, it's like, all right, this is freaking the Thunder's league for the next 5 years. All right, thank you to Khobi for coming on and hanging out. I appreciate him doing that. Okay, I still got a few other things I want to get into here real quick. PNG, can we start calling AR White Iverson? Whatever makes you feel good, PNG. Thank you for the super, brother. Okay, let me hit on 2 quick things here, and then we'll call it a day here. Real quick. I mentioned this story, an NBA story that I want to get into real quick. Yesterday, I saw this story. I don't know if you guys remembered this, but we know what's going on with the Dallas Mavericks and their situation. And then once Kyrie went down, then Shams had said that, AD might shut it down as well. And I remember doing just a quick little segment saying, if AD can go, AD should play. That Anthony Davis, if he's healthy, he should try to get back on the court. I think it would be a great look for him, and I think you give the Dallas Mavericks fans at least something to get excited about, whether they get excited or not. But Lively, Gafford, all these guys, if they're healthy, they should come back and play. They're still in a position, if you look at the standings right now, and I'm not telling you they're going to make real noise, but if the playoffs started today, they would be in the play-in tournament. They're still holding off Phoenix. Phoenix can't find a way to, get out of their own way. Maybe Dallas doesn't make the play-in tournament and the season ends. But if Anthony Davis is healthy, I think he should go, and I think it's a good look for him. Here's the story that came out yesterday. Tim McMahon on ESPN. Dallas Mavericks have assigned Anthony Davis to the Texas Legends, allowing the 10-time All-Star to practice with the G League team and participate in 5-on-5 scrimmages as he ramps up to return from a strained left adductor. Okay, so we know he only played 31 minutes in his season, in his debut for the Dallas Mavericks, and in the 31 minutes, he had 26, 16, and 7, and 3 block shots. I know they got another player, Jaden Hardy, that's also been assigned to the Texas Legends as well. There's other players that they got injured as well. I just think it's a really good look for Anthony Davis to say, guys, I can't control that Kyrie Irving's out. I can't control that I got traded to the Dallas Mavericks. I can't control any of this. If I can play, I'm going to play. And if I could represent the Dallas Mavericks this season, I'm going to represent the Dallas Mavericks. And if I can help our team get into the play-in tournament, I'm going to try to get our team in the play-in tournament. And if I can help the squad get to the playoffs, I'm going to try to get the squad in the playoffs. Anthony Davis has been – I remember I had Michael Thompson on, and Michael said something to the effect of, everybody's disrespecting Anthony Davis. I'm like, Michael, they're not disrespecting Anthony Davis. It's just Luka Doncic on the other side of it, who's 6-7 years younger. That's the reason why nobody's really talking about Anthony Davis. AD now has got to worry about himself. And again, I'm not telling Anthony Davis if he's not healthy to return. If he's healthy, I think it's a really good look for Anthony Davis if he could try to come back for the Dallas Mavericks. That's one person's opinion, but when I saw this story yesterday, I'm like, that props to Anthony Davis for trying to make a return here, even with the situation going on in Dallas, even with the idiotic ownership and the way they've kind of handled the situation. Nico Harrison chat still out there. Fire Nico, everything else. I think there was a story. PJ Washington was at the free throw line, and the fans were chanting, "Fire Nico." And I don't think PJ liked it. And it's a mess in Dallas. It's a mess. I saw something else. They might have to forfeit games. Bobby Marks was talking about this because they might not have enough players. They got all these players that are injured. If Anthony Davis can just at least earn and garner the respect from Mavs fans that I'm going to play this thing all the way through, whatever happens, happens. I think that would be a great look from Dallas for Anthony Davis. And who knows, if he is able to come back, maybe Dallas can kind of sneak into the play-in tournament and then sneak in and get into the playoffs. And if you lose in the first round of the Oklahoma City Thunder, okay, it is what it is. At least you kind of gave it everything that you got. So I'm a fan of that storyline for Anthony Davis, and we'll see if that's something that comes to fruition or it doesn't. Let's take a look at some of the comments here as just want to get your guys' thoughts on this. AD looked like Wilt in those 32 minutes. He did. He definitely did. Stupid of Mavs to have AD play G League games, either play him or not. Dumb decision. No, I disagree. I think what they're trying to find out with him playing in the G League, how do you feel? You feel okay? Okay, let's get you kind of ramped up here to see if you can go or if you can't go. I don't think it's a bad decision. I really don't. I think with the injury that he had and them trying to be very, very, what is the word I'm trying to say? For them wanting to be very, very cautious with Anthony Davis, let him ease his way back in. But I wonder if you guys agree that this would be a good look for him. I just want to read a couple of these and go from there. Michael is compromised because AD is teammates with Clay. I think he also watched Anthony Davis for 6 years with the Lakers and knows how good of a player that he is. Here's another one here. I like AD being willing to go to the G League to get better, putting ego BS aside. I think it's more just slowly ramping him back. That's what I think it is. Here's Oz. Get it over AD and move on. Guys, if there's a good story on AD, I'm going to talk about it. All right. So it looks like we got a few different stories there, and everybody kind of gave their opinion on the AD front. You're just as likely to be hurt in the G League. He had a non-contact injury. I think it has less to do with that. I think it has more to do with just slowly working your way back. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, final thing we'll get into here. I had it in obviously in my notes here. I mentioned MLB opener last night. I'm sorry, this morning. It was a 3 a.m. game. So Dodgers obviously playing the Chicago Cubs. That game was in Tokyo, was in Japan. Kind of cool here. Can I say this here real quick? Kind of cool to have all these Japanese players headlining these games. If you just even look at the matchups, Yoshinobu Yamamoto going up against the lefty Shota Imanaga, I think is how you pronounce his name. That's how they open up the Major League Baseball season in Japan. I think those are cool stories. Obviously, you got Shohei Ohtani, who's in a completely different stratosphere of who he is as a player. Tomorrow, they'll have Roki Sasaki, who was really kind of the prized possession of the offseason for the Dodgers amongst 6 other guys that they got. Roki was probably the biggest one because they didn't have to spend any money getting him, and he's going to be under team control for about 6 years or so. I mean, to an extent. And he's supposed to be as good as any pitcher out there. He's so incredibly young and what he's going to become. But I think it's kind of a cool storyline, kind of seeing all that develop. And you see some of these players in Japan. We know how big baseball is in Japan, and we know what Shohei is doing to the sport, period. And now it's, Shohei was kind of the first domino there. And now obviously a number of Japanese players that are representing the Dodgers. For the actual game, Dodgers won 4-1. And it was Yamamoto, 5 innings, Shohei, 2 hits, scored twice, and Dodgers win 4-1. I saw this as well, and I think I had mentioned it. By the way, this is a perfect example as well. Dodgers jumped on Cubs reliever Ben Brown in the 5th, scoring 3 runs. Part of it was because of a throwing error by the second baseman for the Chicago Cubs. And if you watched any of the postseason, if you make mistakes against the Dodgers, they will eat you up. It's a team you got to almost play perfect baseball against the Dodgers. They're going to be the heavy, heavy favorites to win another World Series. Hell, they did it last year and they didn't even have health. They didn't have all their guys. So you can just imagine. I mean, I know it's easy to kind of go back to that Yankees-Dodgers game in Game 5. The airs, and it started with Aaron Judge, and then it just kind of it just magnified from there. If you make mistakes against good teams, especially the Los Angeles Dodgers, you're going to lose a lot of games. And Dodgers taking advantage of a little bit of that earlier today as well. Something else to kind of keep in mind here. Tanner Scott got his first save of the season. Listen, he's a complete baller. Obviously a part of the Padres last year since the trade deadline. He was really, really good against Shohei Ohtani. He's got filthy stuff as a lefty, so now he's part of the Dodgers. He gets the save. And this is without Freddie Freeman and without Mookie Betts. Both of them didn't play. And I mentioned Roki will start tomorrow morning for the Dodgers. So he'll get his first MLB. He'll make his MLB debut tomorrow. So just a little bit of notes there. Baseball starts in Tokyo. Dodgers trying to defend, obviously, their World Series. And you can't get any more stacked than what the Dodgers are. But there's a reason why you play the games. And, we'll obviously see what happens. But Dodgers start with a 4-1 win in Tokyo. All right. That is basically everything I got there. Dodgers are fundamentally sound, big time. I don't disagree with that at all. It's the team everybody is chasing. Everybody. Literally every team in Major League Baseball is chasing the Dodgers. Dodgers are on their own island, and it's them against everybody else. That's how far ahead they are on paper. Now, paper doesn't always translate to World Series, but the difference with the Dodgers, it already did. A lot of talent, brought back a lot of players, got even healthier, and went out and also added a lot of key players and key additions. So that's a team everybody's going to be chasing. All right, let me read a couple comments here, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. What are we, $1:15 in? I love AD, but outside the bubble ring, he's let us down over and over at the worst time, a.k.a. the playoffs versus Phoenix at crypto, second quarter, as I got up from my seat to get nachos. I love the part about the nachos part. I love that because I think you've mentioned that a few times here, that it all kind of came down to while you were getting your nachos. Let me ask you a question here real quick, T-Wrong. And by the way, great participant of the channel. Thank you for being a member as well. Thank you for doing that. $3 a month to be a member. A lot of people throwing out memberships for free here, giving people 30-day trials. I appreciate that. When you get the nachos, do you tell them to layer it? I'm a layer guy. I don't even know if they probably get annoyed by it, but, throw on that first layer of nachos, right, of the chips. Give me some cheese on there after that. And then throw on the second layer. And then throw on some cheese on top. And then the rest of the toppings. A lot of these places, by the time you're done with the top layer, I'm just eating chips with nothing. I got no guacamole. I got no salsa, and I got no cheese. Who eats just Tostitos with nothing? All right, let's get a couple more of these in here. To me, AD wasn't a disappointment with the Lakers. Was there some frustration? Sure. Availability-wise, sure. Were there times at the end of the games he wouldn't? That's kind of what AD was. I think we wanted him to be a top 3 player in the NBA, and he kept telling us he's not a top 3 player. So I kind of got used to it. Somebody's had 2 cups of coffee. Come on, why you got to do that, bro? Why you got to do that, Felix? That's not cool, bro. Not cool. All right, let's get a couple more in here. No hate here, but no AD hate here, but was disappointing, as was Ron with only 1 ring. Yeah, that's a whole different video. That's a great topic to do right there. That's a really good topic to do there. Somebody mentioned something about that last week, but maybe tying in together Bron and AD is a better way of doing that. I like that. All this weed talk making me want to smoke one now. I didn't even see any of the weed talk. We should do weed talk. That should be like a segment. No, it's not a segment. If Nico calls up Pelinka in offseason to try to get Luka back, we would want AD, Kyrie, Gafford, Lively, Max, and 2 first-rounders minimum. And if I'm Nico, I would do it. Just to make his fan base happy again. AD not working to play center was dumb. Yep, I don't eat nachos anymore. I think you're scarred for life after that situation that last happened. All right, my people. I think we're good to go today. Phenomenal show. Thank you for being a part of the show. Tomorrow, Lakers got the Denver Nuggets. That's a fun game tomorrow. It's going to be a good game. Still working on it. I may be there, may not be there. I'm not 100% sure yet. I know tomorrow when I do my show, I'm going to be down at Brad Wallace, the Wallace firm. They got a nice podcast studio there, so I'll be doing my show from there tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Probably give you guys a chance to meet him as well, somebody that's really supporting the channel, so we'll do that as well. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Be on the lookout for a preview video at some point today with Sammy. previewing the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. I'll be back on tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow morning.